Well, I'm a visual artist and I mostly work with large-scale installation work and writing and related programming and publications. And for the maybe last 15 years I've been working on mostly on media art, and that kind of deals or approaches human-non-human relations and animality and animalisation, and how those things are related to how we also treat other humans, and how systems of knowledge production or governance are tied to this idea of like human, non-human binary, or who can be included in the political community and who is not. Yeah. Well, I think it's something that we all have to really try to train and try to find places where we can try to think. It's like the question is how to think of alternative futures when you're captured in capitalism, how to think of anti-capitalist futures when you're captured in capitalism. And I think art is the one place where you can train that kind of thinking, try to think differently, or train different kind of, make experiments where it's possible to imagine a different kind of a world. But I think it's also really important to try to build avenues for different kind of action. So to not only theoreticize and imagine different kinds of ways of being, but to try to build different kinds of institutions, or change our current institutions, or work with social activism or activism in order to, try to create other kinds of ways of interacting and forming communities. So that's really important. So magical thinking is necessary, but it can't be just thinking. It has to also be thinking in action. One thing that art can do is that it can make unimaginable things imaginable, which makes it possible for the real politics to kind of take them on or think about them. And I think that's something it can, like sometimes what the normalized state of how things are, how we've set up the society, it's like so normalized that we think it's natural, but nothing's natural. Like there's no natural way of organizing a society. Everything's man-made in some way. Everything's just decided that now this is the way we do it. And so art can be a way where you can show, oh, actually this is just a construct. This is just an arbitrary way of deciding that this is how it is, which also then makes it possible to think, oh, things could be otherwise as well. So in that sense, I think it has an important force in questioning and challenging existing hegemonic ways of organizing the world. And then the challenge is like how to not make them only theoretical prototypes, but how to actually push them so that they can do something in the world. No, I haven't really worked on that. It's a super interesting area, and a lot of actually the word post-humanism comes from more like from technology studies, and so it's definitely going to totally transform our world. And my only take is that what we learned from science fiction movies, for example, is that every time AI runs wild and gets out of hand, it turns us into animals. And I think that tells us something about rationality, that even we now understand that relying on that kind of cold rationality is like fundamentally violent in some way, that all of these science fiction fantasies that project this idea of rationality that just starts to have a life of its own, that there is something fundamentally hostile towards our animal being, because we are animals, and so our animal body will become a victim of that, which then puts us to the place of the cows or to other humans that have been animalized. So I think that's an interesting idea of like how to think of AI and how to think of the ethics of AI, and what's the underlying ideology of like what does that mean. But in terms of like what the actual developments, I think that's a really super important area of ethics and just philosophy and thinking. Yeah.